deep research documents over and over again that as men get more successful, more powerful, they are better liked by women and men. And as women get more successful and powerful, they are less liked by women and men. This is why when you hear things at work like, she's really good at her job, but she's just a little aggressive, we have to stop and understand what that is. Men in the audience, please raise your hand if you've ever been told at work that you were too aggressive. Don't be shy. There's usually one, sometimes not. Women in the audience, please raise your hand if you've ever been told that you're too aggressive. I can't count how many times I was told that. This holds us back. Rachel Thomas just became the president of leanin.org, the community effort I'm starting along with the book. And she was talking to her 5-year-old daughter, Haley, about why she took the job. And she said, Haley, what if I told you that as daddy does better at work, more people like him? But as mommy, as I do better at work, fewer people like me. What would you say? And she thought her 5-year-old would say, that's really unfair. Those of us who have kids are really into unfair, right? But that's not what Haley said. Haley said, well, then mommy, I would just not do as well at work. So more people will like me. The good news is this is an imminently solvable problem because if we understand it, we can correct it. There's a man who works for me at Facebook, and we were just doing performance reviews at the end of the year last year. And he started off by saying, I haven't read your book, but I have listened to all the things you've said. And so I just got feedback that this woman who works for me is too aggressive. So rather than write down too aggressive in her performance review, I went back to the men and women who said that, and I said, I want to ask you a question. Can you tell me what she did specifically that's too aggressive? And they answered. And then he said to each one of them, if a man had done those same things, would she have been too aggressive? And to a one, the answer was no. The more women become leaders, the more we will associate women with leadership characteristics. The more women lead, the less we will call little girls bossy. Stand up. Stand up that you're going to be CEO of your company because you are not just standing up for you, you are standing up for our gender. You are standing up because as you lead, as you become Ann Moore, you change the stereotypes. And that's a service for everyone. Let's think of careers like a marathon, long, grueling, ultimately rewarding. Men and women get to the start line equally fit and trained. You could argue with women getting 58, 60% of the degrees, women are more fit and trained, but let's say equal for argument's sake. Marathon starts. What happens? Think about the voices the men hear. You've got this. Good start. Keep going. What voices do the women hear? Are you sure you should run this? Does it make sense to start a marathon you're probably not going to finish? Don't you want kids one day? Marathon continues. Careers go on. The voices for the men get louder. You've got this. Keep going. The finish line is still there. Voices for the women get louder too. Should you even be running when your kids need you at home? If you're a man in this audience, men, and you work full-time and have kids, please raise your hand if anyone's ever said to you, should you be working? Raise your hand. Go ahead. There's no, there never are any of these. Women, you work full-time. Has anyone ever said to you, should you be working when your kids need you at home? Like the girl in Peggy's story, women start worrying about this way too young. A young woman came to see me at Facebook, and she was asking all these questions furiously. How do you balance children and work? And I'm answering them for a while, but there was so much urgency. And so finally I looked at her and said, if you don't mind, do you have a child? She said, oh no. I said, well, are you thinking about having a child soon? She laughed. She said, oh no, I just graduated from college. I don't even have a boyfriend. I just like to plan ahead. What I've seen more than anything else in the workplace is the following. Years before a woman has a child, years before, Or advanced planners, women start making room for that child. And rather than take a promotion, take on the new responsibility, they hang back. And they actually work the same long hours they would have worked at a higher level. They're doing just as much work as they would have done had they taken the new job. And then they don't get the promotion that might have gotten them the money that would have paid for the childcare that's too expensive in this country. The promotion or the new opportunity that would have kept them fully engaged. Fast forward, they have the child, they're thinking about coming back to work. They don't go back to work if they have that choice, because they're working for some guy who 2 years ago was keeping his foot on the gas pedal while they were leaning back, and they feel unappreciated, under-challenged, undervalued. Women, we live in a world of or. The world wants to tell us, or. You can be a parent or a professional. You can be a CEO or speak out on issues you care about. Men get to do both. Men get to be parents and professionals. And that doesn't mean every woman's going to choose to do both. That doesn't mean every man's going to choose to do both. But let's at least start off teaching our daughters and ourselves that we have that option. At Facebook, we have posters around the office. They're in red and they're a culture. And one of them says, "Fortune favors the bold." Another says, "Done is better than perfect." Very important. My whole life is about done is better than perfect. And another says, "What would you do if you weren't afraid?" I thought about what I would do if I wasn't afraid. I'd write a book on women. And it took me a long time to get to that because there were a lot of reasons to be afraid of writing that book. But I'm really glad I did it. So I'm going to end where I began. I want you to take a minute, and I want you to think about what you would do if you weren't afraid. Would you want to be CEO? What are you not doing because you don't think you can? What can you do to advance yourself, to advance women, to change the world just a little bit? So think of one thing you can do if you're not afraid, and then stand up. Stand up if you are going to do it. Stand up if you can think of one thing that you're going to do differently. Thank you.